Good day, everyone. I am Lidilyn Crescencio, and I will be the first discussant for this topic about assessment of learning. Teaching cycle is not complete without the assessment of learning. This chapter will devoted to a discussion of a guiding principle in the assessment of learning and on assessment tools in the three phases of instructions. The discussion and the presentation will not be very detailed. It will be introductory to the two separate courses on assessment of student learning you have to take after this course. Assessment of learning in an integral part of the teaching learning process. Assessment in education is crucial for measuring learning outcomes. It helps teachers understand if their lesson objectives have been achieved. Based on assessment results, teachers can decide whether to provide remedial instruction or move on to the next topic. Formative evaluation, done frequently, allows for adjustment to teaching methods. Assessment tool should match performance objective to be able to considered as valid. For example, if the goal is to teach students how to dance the cha-cha, performance tests where students showcase their dance skills align with the objective and is valid. Using a written test or to assess the dance ability would not be able. Similarly, when teaching critical and creative thinking, assessment tools should go beyond simple recall and comprehension. Using on higher order thinking skills, apart from written and performance tests, product assessment includes evaluating tangible outcomes like laboratory reports, newspaper articles, or physical creations such as sculptures, aligning assessment with the specific objectives and outcomes for of the learning process. The result of assessment must be feedback to the learners. Well, feedback is essential in the assessment process to inform learners of their progress towards learning objectives because returning corrected quizzes, tests, assignments, and projects promptly allows students to understand their performance and track their progress. Without feedback, students are left unaware of how well they have to perform, hindering their ability to urge their learning and work towards achieving the set of objectives. Feedback plays a crucial role in helping students understand their strengths and areas for improvement, enhancing their overall learning experiences. In assessing learning, teacher must consider learners, learning styles, and multiple intelligence, and so must come up with a variety of way of assessing learning. Well, teachers should consider diverse learning style and multiple intelligence when assessing students. Traditional written tests may benefit some students more than others. By using a variety of assessment methods like portfolios and authentic tools that cater to different intelligence, teachers can create a more inclusive assessment process, exploring creative assessment like techniques based on theories like multiple intelligence and learning style can help teacher better evaluate students with variety of verifying abilities. In assessment, providing positive feedback along with a constructive criticism helps build a culture of success in school. By acknowledging strength with comments like "well done" or "good point" and then offering a suggestion for improvement, students receive a balanced evaluation that boosts their confidence. Starting evaluation with positive points before addressing areas for growth softens the impact of criticism, and helps students feel supported in their learning journey. This approach ensures that students perceive the evaluation process as constructive and supportive rather than solely critical. Emphasize on self-assessment. Self-assessment is crucial in learning process as it empowers students to measure their progress against set standards or objectives. By encouraging students to evaluate their own learning against established criteria, they take ownership of their progress. This self-assessment combined with teacher evaluations provide a comprehensive view of students' achievement levels. It is important that assessment focus on personal growth rather than competition with peers. Self-assessment, also known as assessment as learning, allows that students to reflect on their own performance and compare it against their past achievements and set standards for fostering a culture of personal development and improvement. Assessment of learning should never be used as punish or as a disciplinary measure. Assessment of learning should never be used as a form of punishment or disciplinary action. Using assessment or penalize students, such as giving surprise quizzes or for noise or difficult tests as punishment for lack of preparation, undermines the true purpose of assessment, which is to validate learning. Such practices can lead students to associate assessment with negative consequences, hindering their perception of assessment as a tool for measuring progress and understanding. Assessment should focus on evaluating learning outcomes and supporting students in their educational journey, rather than being used as a punitive measure. Result in assessment must be communicated regularly and clearly to parents. Regular and clear communication of learning assessment result to parents is essential. Parents are highly interested in their children's school progress and want to support their learning. By keeping parents informed, educators not only involve them as partner in their children's education, but also acknowledge them as important stakeholders in the learning process. This communication fosters a collaborative relationship between parents and educators, benefiting the overall educational development of students. Assessment in education should focus on real-world application that requires students to demonstrate practical skills rather than rote memorization. It is important for assessment to be relevant to the context, allowing students to actively apply their knowledge and skills to solve complex tasks. Evaluation can be integrated throughout the teaching progress or at the end of the lesson, with a variety of assessment methods chosen based on instructional objectives, the nature of the topic, and the diverse intelligence and learning styles of students. The goal is to assess learning in the way that reflect real-world challenges and encourages critical thinking and practical application of knowledge. To promote effective learning, engage in formative assessment throughout the teaching process. Instead of waiting until the end of the lesson or unit, regularly check for student understanding and address any gaps immediately. If students struggle to grasp the concept, intervene promptly with a remedial measure to enhance learning outcomes and ensure comprehension. This proactive approach to assessment To ensure reliability of assessment result, make use of multiple sources. To ensure the reliability of assessment results, utilize multiple sources of evaluation. Avoid rely solely on one type of assessment data. Incorporate a variety of assessment methods such as written tests, performance evaluation, portfolios, and observations. By gathering information from diverse sources, you can obtain a more comprehensive and accurate understanding of students' learning and progress and capabilities. This multiple sources approach enhance the reliability and validity of assessment outcomes. And that's all for my part. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Daisy Milborso Malinog, but you can call me Teacher Daisy. So today, let's talk about assessment in the different phases of instruction. Now we have prior to instruction. Now you may give pre-teaching assessment to determine where your students are in relation to your lesson. Now you can make use of a written pre-test, the KWL technique, or by simply asking them some questions to diagnose your students' entry, knowledge, and skills. Now research found that teachers in schools with high achievement rates use pre-assessments to support targeted teaching of skills it is important to learn for standardized tests as well as to group students for re-teaching. So, during instruction, there are many ways by which learning can be assessed in the process of teaching. Now, we can immediately find out if our pupils or students can follow the lesson by posing oral questions or by observing them as they perform classroom activities or exercises. Giving a quiz is the most popular, right there and then with their answers, with their scores, and with the way they conduct themselves in class activities. Now, we already sense whether we already near or far from the attainment of our objectives. So we can, when we engage ourselves in this evaluation activity, in the process we are engaged what we call formative evaluation. So formative evaluation is also referred to as assessment for learning. So why do we assess? So the main purpose is to ensure learning. To conduct formative evaluation is beneficial to learning. If in the process of teaching, we already get to know the remedial teaching in some sub-skills is necessary, then we can do remedial teaching at once without having wait for the result of summative evaluation. If we wait until the end of the semester to check the status of pupils' learning, it may be quite late because we have already time and energy pounding on the heads of our students or pupils without knowing that their inability to learning was perhaps due to lack of mastery of prerequisite skills. So here in after instruction, after you spent an hour or less teaching, you would like to find out proof of learning. You will do formative evaluation. So this is also referred to as assessment of learning. If you gave a pre-test prior to instruction, then you give a post-test after instruction. If you use the KWL technique, then go back to it and ask your students to share what they learned. And if you discover that your lesson objectives were not achieved, although this may not happen if we were serious with formative assessment, so find out why and employ remedial measures like reteaching, peer tutoring, and the like. So now we have appropriate assessment tools. So what assessment tools will be most appropriate? And That depends on the lesson objectives, the attainment of which is what you are assessing. So the teacher-made test or the paper and pencil test in many forms is the most common tool used to assess learning. However, it has been abused and misused. Many times, the paper and pencil test is not appropriate as an evaluation tool, and yet, because it is the tool with which we are most familiar, it is used. So in this slide, it says, it is worthy to note, however, that more and more teachers are beginning to more authentic tools of assessment. Performance tests are said to be more authentic than mere paper and pencil test. The 50 code practical test in skill subjects like physical education, laboratory subjects, computer, and the like are examples of performance tests. If indeed, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. The most reliable way to test if our students learn the skill we intended to teach is by the way of hands-on exercise, by way of performance. In no way will a paper and pencil test be to authentically test skill in dancing, playing, focusing the microscope, using computer program. So another example of an authentic evaluation tool is the portfolio assessment. What is a better way of showing the development in the child's writing skills, if not through showing of a collection of the child's written work for the past 3 months or 4, right? So if performance test is for the assessment of skills learned, what about the assessment of values learned? For the assessment of values learned. So in assessing learning in affective domain, teachers should focus on observing students' attitude, values, and emotions in response to learning experiences. And this observation should be ongoing and holistic, taking into the account the students' overall behavior and interaction within the learning environment. So teachers should also use a variety of observation techniques such as anecdotal records, checklists, and rating scales to gather comprehensive data on students' affective development. And I think that's all for our topic, which is the assessment and the different phases of instruction. Once again, I am your teacher Daisy. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
버스 안에서 going 이불 속에서 going going은 언제나 너에게 going